Hey guys, welcome to Newswave. Now, there's a bunch of stuff to talk about today, including Nintendo's E3 plans that have finally been revealed for when they're doing everything, and Nvidia actually outlined Volta and announced it. So you know what, let's just get started here. Well, the first thing we are going to talk about today is an interesting topic that kind of came out of nowhere, I think, for a lot of people. It looks like Square is actually parting ways with IO Interactive, which is the studio that was developing Hitman, which is a really odd decision, I think, considering Square published their financial results, and for the most part they did well. In fact, they had a year-over-year growth. They praised a bunch of their releases as being big money makers for the most part, but they did kind of say that Hitman really underperformed for them, and in this case they want to kind of move away from that and get more into, from what they've said, service type games, much like we've heard from people like Phil Spencer. So that at least makes sense on their end, why they want to maybe cut out maybe a franchise that hasn't done the best for them, although everyone said this Hitman was probably the best one they've had in forever almost. I mean, probably the best one, the most recent one anyway, had great reviews. It was episodic, so I think that was kind of weird. I think that may have even hurt it a little bit. It might have been better if they just released it as just a regular game for the most part. But after that, they did say that they are looking for new clients to basically purchase IO Interactive. And this was in their statement today. They said, to maximize player satisfaction as well as marketing potential going forward, they have regrettably decided to withdraw from the business of IO Interactive. As a result of this, the company started discussions with potential new investors and is currently in negotiations to secure this investment. Whilst there can be no guarantees that the negotiations will be concluded successfully, they are being explored since this is in the best interest of our shareholders, the studio, and the industry as a whole. And this is a weird situation for a couple reasons. One, this does who knows what with Hitman. I mean, it's hard to say where the IP itself belongs. Does it stay with Square or does it go with IO Interactive? This is a really weird time if you're a Hitman fan, because I would like to think somebody is going to pick up the Hitman IP either way, but who knows when you'll see another one at this point, or if, honestly, at this point, if one will ever be made again by Square or IO Interactive. So there's a chance that that IP just gets moved along with IO Interactive if they cannot sell it, or it just gets shut down for a while and they just don't do anything with it. The idea here is to find investors and stuff to move IO Interactive to. They are pretty much, from what I can tell, trying to get rid of IO Interactive completely, because to them it was like a dead leg for them, or just a wheel, the spoke on a wheel that was just not working for them. So they are getting rid of it and moving on. In their case, it sounds like they want to move again towards more service stuff, things that will bring them recurring money over and over again, whether it's like their MMO that they have with Final Fantasy XIV, or maybe everybody is looking at this Overwatch situation, or League of Legends, any of these like big MOBA type games where they make like fistfuls of cash over what's essentially cosmetic items that people keep buying. It's just an odd situation because Square has reported record sales and profit from the previous quarters. I don't know, it's a weird time right now for Square, and obviously at this point IO Interactive. Then we got word of Nintendo's E3 plans. Nothing about their games, obviously, other than the ones we know about, but we at least know when they're going to be showing them off and some of their activities going on during E3. And to get started, they're going to do something called the Nintendo Spotlight, which according to them is going to be a video presentation, much like we're used to now, where they don't do anything live on stage. We've already knew that they were going to do something like this, where it was going to be more pre-recorded and edited for time, which again is good for that. I just kind of missed the old live reactions, but overall, we're going to have something called Nintendo Spotlight, where I assume they're going to just show off all these different games in full. We'll get some surprise announcements probably cut up in there, and it should be a pretty quick watch, to be honest, if any of the old Nintendo Directs that we've seen are any example. They're also going to do the Nintendo Treehouse Live, which will be cool because that means that they will do things like bring developers in and talk about their games, give us some better information about maybe stuff we saw at the one where they showed us the Switch games originally, and they showed off like all the Joy-Cons and everything. Maybe we'll see things like Xenoblade there, for example, maybe some indie games, and overall it should be pretty cool. I think it'll be fun. And who knows how long that'll go, because last time we saw Treehouse Live, it took up a good chunk of the day. So that might be like an all-day event going on with Nintendo, where people just kind of wander in and out showing off games. They're also going to hold 2 tournaments where they're going to do Arms and Splatoon 2, which sounds cool if you want to check the games out. In general, maybe we'll see some extra things there. Splatoon 2 seems pretty straight up at this point, since we've played it already, whereas ARMS we have not. Now, I'm not a big tournament watcher or tournament goer with this kind of stuff. I would be more interested in seeing, for example, ARMS, just to see if there are any extra features, or maybe they do more with, like, for example, the controls with the Pro Controller, and we can kind of try to pick out how they are controlling everything to see how that's going to work. Or maybe they make them use motion controls. Probably not, though. I just think that'd be funny to see. But they've also promised surprises for games, which I don't think any of us are I guess, surprised about or not expecting. We expect to see things that we don't know about yet. Hopefully, things that we have guessed, like a Metroid. We already know about this Raving Rabbids game that they have to know we know about this by now. I would be shocked, honestly, at this point, they might as well just tell us that in a direct before E3, because then it'll have a little more intrigue. We'll know a block of time for that spotlight won't be taken up with this game that we've heard almost everything about at this point. And the big thing is, if you're going to E3, apparently this will be playable. And by this I mean Mario Odyssey. It's going to be playable. From what they're saying, it'll be in playable form. Goers should be able to play it on the E3 floor, which is awesome. I really wanted to go, but I have some other things keeping me kind of here this year. Maybe next year I'll go. But I feel kind of bad missing out on playtime with Mario Odyssey, because that game looks fun, and I'd like to see how it controls at the same time. Either way, it'll be a busy week for us. We now know it's coming June 13th. They are doing this entire event, so it should be a lot of fun. We'll be live streaming here on SpawnWave, and I honestly can't wait. And Nvidia has shown us Volta to an extent. We at least have specs. We didn't really see much in terms of, say, benchmarks, although they did show us an interesting Final Fantasy 15 demo for some odd reason when they come out and say that it's going to be mostly used for deep learning and computations and business first, and then they'll move it to the gaming market, but they did give us some pretty cool specs. So the first chip that they're using is codenamed GV100, which of course is the successor to GP100. It's going to have 84 stream processors, 64 CUDA cores on each one, making that 5,376 CUDA cores, which, if that sounds like a lot, that's because it is. It's also a new processing unit, which is interesting. I assume they'll go into this in more detail going forward, called Tensor cores, and that's 8 per stream processor, so that's 672 Tensor cores total. And it clocks in with 1,455 megahertz, 30 teraflops at floating point 16, 15 teraflops at the traditional floating point 32 that we seem to grade all of our consoles on. For memory, they're going to go with 16 gigabytes of HBM2. That's, of course, the high bandwidth memory, and it's going to have a total bandwidth of 900 gigabytes. Now, to put that in some perspective, Scorpio apparently has 320 gigabytes, and this all comes in a package of 300 watts of TDP power, which is pretty good, actually. For those specs, that's actually about right. That's actually lower than I would have thought, to be honest. And they are saying it's going to be a Q3 2017 launch. So yeah, this is ridiculous. This is very powerful video cards. I think at this point they wanted to maybe jump out ahead of Vega getting their release and just at least put their specs out there saying, hey, look at Volta. Don't worry about Vega. Look at Volta. And I think this may punch ATI kind of in the gut here, because there's no way Vega is going to be this strong. I just don't see that happening. And so it looks like Nvidia will probably remain atop the gaming world. However, keep in mind, there is always a place for ATI and AMD to kind of come in at a more budget-oriented spot here, whereas we know this is going to be expensive from Nvidia because they're expensive most times. So I wouldn't worry too much for ATI. They have a great idea of trying to get more budget-oriented. We saw it with the RX 480 at $200, which was a great price for that card. So look for them to try to push along the lower end or mid-range video cards to try to compete with those Nvidia cards. And in an interesting twist, Rainway tweeted out that they're getting info from Nintendo, and they're hoping to share good news with us going forward. Now, if you don't know Rainway, they were the creators, or at least creators, of an upcoming app that apparently will let us stream games from, like, our PC on a local network, so you'd more than likely still have to be at home. They haven't said anything about it working through the internet, although if you did that, I assume the ping would not be very good for fighting games or first-person shooters. It'd probably be passable for RPGs. Anyway, this is going to be something you could stream from your system, like your PC, to your browser on, say, your Xbox One or your Switch. And this is where the whole thing came up with Nintendo, because usually they block this kind of stuff. I don't want to say usually block this stuff. This isn't something that's really been presented to Nintendo yet, because it hasn't really been possible with some of their older systems, mostly because they have not run on anything normal. You know, it's running PowerPC when everything else is running x86. Well, here they are. Now they're on a current processor that can do this, because the Shield does this. So this is something that Nintendo has probably been kind of looking over a lot, trying to figure out if it makes sense for their system. But this tweet is interesting. We received an update from Nintendo today, and we hope to have some good news for you soon. And that honestly caught me off guard. I did not think Nintendo would do anything with these people. I honestly didn't think they'd want something that can technically reach from outside of their ecosystem and play games from an application they're not selling. So they are not selling games on Steam. They're not getting royalties from that. And this app apparently would be free from Rainway. That's their whole thing, is to make this free. Maybe Nintendo sees that as a, hey, look, this system can play all of those games that are supposed to be, you know, for GTX 1080s, because it just streams right to your tablet. But again, it's interesting. Some people say it won't hurt the overall game sales on that system, but I don't really see how it would help overall game sales, since you don't have to buy a Switch game apparently to play it on your Switch. Either way, the whole situation is interesting. We'll keep an eye on it. I'll let you know if anything else happens here. I thought this next bit of news was pretty funny. Now, we all know Phil Spencer, right? Obviously head of Xbox. He seems to be more on the boat of, you should not be arguing over your consoles because they're pieces of plastic. You should enjoy the games that come out and just own all of them. And really, in a perfect world, yes, unfortunately, Phil, the internet exists, and that's not going to fly on the internet. And true to form, Phil sticks with his neutral tone, and he does a little advertising for the Minecraft version of the Nintendo Switch on his Twitter. Now, mostly what he did was he just kind of retweeted or tweeted out an article that The Verge did saying that Minecraft is a perfect fit for the Nintendo Switch. And if you think about it, it kind of is, because it's a portable version. It's a very good version. It should be, really, realistically, if you look at it, better than the mobile one, because you have ways of doing co-op on a little tablet screen, and it should run better overall with the Tegra and it being specifically programmed for it, and it has the Nintendo pieces in it. So there you go. But it's really it's just funny. Now, of course, Microsoft has a stake in Minecraft because they own it. So it's really funny that Minecraft has never been an Xbox or PC exclusive. They have always kept with their word to keep it on the other systems, the PS4, the Switch, the Wii U, the PS3. They've always done that. You know what? That's one good thing I'll give Microsoft. They could wall off Minecraft if they really wanted to and make it so that the Xbox One and the PC are the only places to get it. Specifically, they can make it only work on Windows if it doesn't already. I don't know how well it works on like Linux or even Mac, but either way, they could easily wall it off so it's only on the Xbox. You know what? That's one thing I will give them credit for. They have kept Minecraft accessible to everyone. It's not like it just works on a Windows phone, for example. It works on Android, iOS, everything. So this just shows further that, you know what? It's Minecraft. It's going to be on everything. People on that Twitter page have asked, why is it not a Microsoft exclusive? You know why? Because there's several other systems out there that they can make money on. And that right now, guys, is all it's about. People like to say Microsoft or Phil Spencer hates Nintendo or he hates Sony. No, if it made them enough money and everyone could make money from it without arguing over the pieces, they're going to work together and they're going to bring you a game like Minecraft. Speaking of Microsoft, let's stick on that topic real quick, because this will be our last bit of news, and it does come from Microsoft's, finally, their initiative into the VR world. And yesterday, they revealed their motion controllers. So instead of just putting out just a headset, it looks like they're going to put out motion controls and a headset designed by Acer in one bundle. According to all sources I've seen, it will be a bundle with controllers and the headset at $399.9, which is, that's a competitive price. Now you're going to see it here, and yes, it looks similar to, say, Oculus, for example, or the HTC Vive, just because at this point, all VR headsets are going to look very similar, since that's just where we are with the technology. But I will say it looks kind of sleek. It kind of reminds me of like the VR Troopers type stuff, if you remember that from back in the day. That was an older show for some of us older people. But overall, you know what? It's a good idea because everyone really needs to get into VR to help push it along, and they're doing something different. It's called mixed reality. Now, they have not really defined what mixed reality really means. It's interesting. I assume they're going to do more moving around maybe with it. And who knows, maybe that front where there's that black visor, maybe they'll also add in some augmented reality with that where you can kind of see through it like sunglasses, but there'll be stuff in front of you. They showed a quick demonstration almost that was like, it just showed their Xbox Live avatar up there. It could be interesting if maybe they did something with how we had Home for Sony. Maybe they do something like that with the Xbox. Now, they have said currently it's going to be mostly for PC at this point, or any of the computers you get that are strong enough to push this along, but they will be bringing it to consoles, well, specifically Xbox, later on in the year. I assume the reason it's coming later on in the year is because this might end up being a Scorpio exclusive for games, and maybe you'll be be able to like browse the menu and watch movies and stuff like that with the regular Xbox One, but no real games because you need some power. The Scorpio has power that can push it along, not the original Xbox. I don't know how annoyed that's going to make people because realistically, most people should understand that the Scorpio is needed for VR. A lot of people probably won't. They'll probably won't understand why their $250 or $300 Xbox they just got a few months ago is not compatible with the VR unit. But if you're a PC gamer or you enjoy your PC over your consoles, you should be happy to know that Acer and Microsoft are collaborating. They are coming out with a very affordable, at this point, affordable VR headset with motion controls. Keep in mind, guys, this thing is $100 less than the PlayStation VR, and it comes with these motion controllers that are supposed to be much better than, say, the PS4 wand and the navigation. And that's it for Newswave today, guys. Make sure you comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Let me know what you think about anything we talked about today, whether you are excited for Nintendo's E3 event, much like I am, because I am finally ready to see some of these rumored games that we keep hearing about, ready to put those to bed, specifically Metroid. Maybe you're excited for Nvidia's next chipset with Volta. It's really cool to see these video cards keep pushing along because they are obviously going to evolve faster and faster compared to, say, processors that just seem to drag their feet. And you know what? Maybe you're excited for this Rainway app. Maybe you want to finally see the Switch be able to stream PC games. I don't know how likely that is to happen, but hey, we'll wait and see what happens. That's it for now, guys. I will see you on Monday.